Two stumbling teams take centre stage in this weekend's Manchester derby. Pep needs to put things right quickly, but having masterminded one slaughter of Man City so far this season, can Ruben Amorim guide United to a victory in his first derby in charge? Let's get right into it. So before we jump into the match preview, guys, please do smash a like on the video if you haven't already done so. Do hit that subscribe button too if you're new to the channel. We're on the road to 13,000 subscribers, and with your help we can get there, so I do appreciate it. But let's jump straight into it, guys, and let's talk about the Manchester derby. Obviously, it's a huge game, the biggest game in my eyes in terms of Manchester United's season. Now, away at the Etihad is never easy for United, but we're going to run through some of the talking points. Get your comments in below as always. Look, United come into this game on the back of a win in midweek against Victoria Pilsen. Now, look, on the off, it's not the greatest opposition in the world, and United, I suppose, and United fans in general, we're just happy to get the result midweek in Europe. However, some of the talking points and some of the points taken away from that game is that we do not want mass rotation coming into this game. You know, I think it's quite clear now that Ruben Amorim has discovered what his best starting 11 is. He mentioned it a couple of weeks ago in his press conference. I think after the Nottingham Forest game, maybe? I think he's getting close to knowing what his best starting 11 is. And I think it's clear from you know, the eye test and from the fans' perspective that, you know, I specifically know what the best starting 11 is. This is the 11 that he started with against Victoria Pilsen on in midweek. Now, look, no doubt there's going to be changes to this, so we're going to go through it from back to front and you know, see what changes may potentially be made. And as always, do let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Look, we'll start obviously with Andre Onana at the back. He needs to settle down again, and you know, obviously we've been heaping praise on him, and I'm not going to go in too deep on him. You know, I think he's been absolutely one of our best players so far this season. He really has, and I think, you know, a couple of mistakes in a couple of games is nothing to be getting overly concerned about. The one issue I would take with it is when he started making mistakes last season in the Champions League and in Europe specifically, he didn't stop. You know, he continued to make mistakes throughout the season. So I think what he needs to do is just nip it in the bud as quickly as possible. We know that he's quite harsh on himself, and I think he needs to just put it aside now. We know he's got the mentality to you know, to put it behind him, and you know, he's a very confident player and a very vocal player and a senior player within the dressing room. So the quicker he can get back to you know, the performances we were seeing a few weeks ago, the better. And I have no doubt that he will, to be quite honest with you. The back three. Now, there are some question marks here. And, you know, I suppose the defence has been one area in particular that I've been really happy with this season. I know the last few games, with a change of formation, with a change of tactics, with Ruben Amorim coming in, you know, we're seeing some goals being conceded. But on the whole, I think we're defending quite well this season. I think it's one of the, I suppose, the standout areas of Manchester. And look, we know that the goal difference, not just this season, but even last season, hasn't been great. However, I do think we are starting to see some consistency when it comes to the defensive side of our game. And I think one of the main reasons for that has been De Ligt, if I'm being quite honest with you. Now, there are a number of different reasons, but De Ligt has been that, you know, pivot in that central defence, in that central role in the back three. I think he's been absolutely fantastic. He's put in some really, really good performances this season. I think he's going to be an absolute shoe-in for the game on the weekend. Absolutely no problem. And Mazraoui is another one who has been up there with our best players so far this season. There's three you can kind of group together for me. Onana has been one, Mazraoui has been another, and Ahmad has been the third. I think the three of them have been absolutely fantastic over a consistent basis this season. So I think Mazraoui is going to absolutely be you know, one of the first names on the team sheet. Now, Lisandro Martinez is a player that we're going to discuss a little bit here, because he has, now we know he has had an injury this season, and he hasn't been there all season. However, since he has come back, his performance levels haven't been great. They really haven't. He's been a little bit inconsistent. He's been making a couple of mistakes, and he hasn't looked like the same player that we, you know, seen maybe in Erik ten Hag's first season. He looks a little bit void of confidence, which is weird saying, you know, that coming from a player of Martinez's calibre. Now, let's hypothetically say Martinez doesn't start on the weekend, who plays in that left-sided centre-back role? While there aren't really standout candidates, you could say maybe a Maguire, is he going to come into the team? I don't think we will bring Maguire into the team for the game against City. Now, you never know. Maguire was rested midweek against Victoria Pilsen. Does that mean he could potentially be sprung from the bench to start this weekend? I don't know. I think the main scenario here that we could see is Mazraoui will move to left centre back, and we know he can play there and played really well. And I think Yoro comes in on that right hand side. Now, again, you could say it's a big task for Yoro to come in. Hasn't played an awful lot of minutes, but has looked good when he has played. He's coming in against, regardless of how out of form City are, he's coming in against much better players than what he's maybe played against so far. This is the back three that I would like to see, to be honest with you. Now, again, look, I've no problem with Yoro sitting out. He's still young. Mazraoui stays as right wing back and Martinez comes in. I'd have no issue with that either. However, I think with Martinez playing a full game midweek, I think Mazraoui potentially will move over there, and Yoro didn't play a minute midweek either, so maybe he's going to be sprung from the bench to come in fresh. I think either way, I think that back three is absolutely strong enough, or with Martinez in there, absolutely. I have no issues with that either. But like I said, the defence has been probably the highlight of Manchester United's season so far, and we need that to continue against Man City, because, as we'll get on to City in a moment and how poorly they're playing, but if you give them opportunities, they will score. So we need to keep that going. Now, talking about the wing-back positions, guys. Now, as we've seen here, the wing-back areas in midweek against Victoria Pilsen were Malacia on the left and Delo on the right. Now, I think both of them had decent enough games. However, we did see a right footer playing at right wing back and a left footer playing at left wing back, and that made us play wide an awful lot more than we were naturally used to seeing. What we are used to seeing so far is Delo playing on the left, and we bring Ahmad out onto the right hand side. Now, what happened midweek against Victoria Pilsen, initially we seen Anthony, who I actually don't have as a so we'll leave Ahmad there. Let's say this was Anthony, a left footer coming on at right wing back. And what that automatically happened then is that we seen attacking areas both here, and then we seen them both here. The inside channels were starting to be used an awful lot more, because you have the likes of Ahmad coming up here, or Anthony cutting in off his left, and then you had Delo cutting in onto his right. Now, that eventually turned out to be Garnacho. And what that meant is that we were a lot more advanced when we were going and searching for the winner. You had Garnacho cutting in on his right here. You had Anthony cutting in on his left here. And we've seen both of these areas be utilised an awful lot more. Now, it remains to be seen what will happen on the weekend. I think what we're going to see is Amarin revert back to Delo and Ahmad. They've been probably, I won't say the best, because Delo's having a hit and miss season, but I think Ahmad specifically has really made that right wing back position his own. And when you're looking to attack them central half space zones, I think it absolutely is the way to go. And now again, we can, if we're chasing the game, absolutely, you can look at bringing the likes of Garnacho on, who we know can attack them areas really well. But yeah, I think initially what we will see is Delo play as left wing back, and we will see Ahmad play as right wing back. And again, I think it's probably the strongest we can go, given the personnel that are available for us, especially at that left wing back area. We know Malacia has come on, and he's played okay, he's played well, but again, it's quite clear to see he's not up to full speed yet. And putting in a player that's not up to full speed against Manchester City is a recipe for disaster. Now, speaking of the number 6 areas, guys, and obviously the two number 6s are what I would say is probably the area we're going to see the most change in my opinion. Now, that may not be the case. However, we did see Casemiro and Bruno playing the two number 6s on the weekend. Sorry, let me just what were we doing? Yeah, Delo was there, and Malacia was there. So We did see Bruno and Casemiro playing the two number sixes on midweek against Victoria Pilsen. Now, first and foremost, I think Casemiro comes out. I think he's going to come straight out, and I think the reason for that is Ugarte to come straight in. Ugarte, again, came on late in the game against Pilsen and played well when he came on. I was happy with how he played. We're going to need somebody with Ugarte's energy levels, with his determination, with how he breaks down play, and stops the opposition counter-attacking on us. So I think he is absolutely going to be number one, going to be the first name on the team sheet on Sunday going into this game. Now, the other number 6 area, does Bruno remain in that number 6? I've mentioned it a couple of times now. I'm not a huge fan of Bruno being in that number 6, because we know and we've seen, over the few games that he's played there, if we look at Bruno's heat map has mainly been, again, in these areas. So we know he likes to get forward and get into these areas. Now, against the likes of a Manchester City, if he disappears into these areas, you're talking about Ugarte trying to cover a lot of ground, to make up for, Bruno wandering and trying to attack a little bit more. For that reason, I think Bruno's not going to be in the 6, and I think we're probably going to see Kobbie Mainoo come back in. Again, Mainoo didn't play against Pilsen midweek, so we know that, Ruben Amorim is trying to keep players as fresh as possible by rotating him. And look, again, we know rotation is required going into the busy period of Christmas. But I think we need to start seeing a settled 11 play together now. And I think playing the likes of Ugarte and Mainoo together in that 6. Mainoo is more so your deep-lying playmaker, while Ugarte can be your out-and-out number 6 then, the defensive side of the two there. I think there's good balance there, absolutely. Now, getting on to the two number 10 roles, and first and foremost, as we seen midweek, Rashford, I think, comes straight out. Again, we've seen a very lacklustre performance from Marcus Rashford midweek. Again, he hasn't looked like he has been revitalised by the new manager coming in. Scored a goal, a goal against Ipswich and 2 against Everton. And you would think maybe, right, that'll kick him on and we'll see maybe a rejuvenated Rashford. But again, we're seeing the same lacklustre performances. I think he's out. He's absolutely out. And again, look, with Bruno moving out of the number 6, I think he comes into the number 10 is what I would like to see. And there's a couple of players that can play alongside Bruno, in my opinion. First and foremost, you're probably talking about Garnacho. We know he's played in that position, that left-sided number 10 role. And he does work well with Dalot. And we've seen on a number of occasions when United are in possession, Garnacho coming out wide and Dalot coming into that number 10 position. So Garnacho can attack the wide spaces, and it has worked well. And then when we're out of possession, Dalot drops back in, Garnacho comes central, and we shore up that middle again. So Garnacho is absolutely an option there. The other player that I would like to see get an opportunity is Mason Mount. He came on midweek against Victoria Pilsen, and I think he was one of the main reasons why we went on to win the game. I think he changed the game in terms of his energy levels, his enthusiasm. The pace of the game quickened up straight away as soon as he came on. And one of the big attributes that Mount has is that his pressing from the front is very, very good in terms of the pace at which he does it and the intensity levels at which he does it. So I think Mason Mount has a big shout at starting in one of them number 10 roles against City on the weekend. The only issue I would have with that is that Bruno and Mount are very similar players. Now, they're not identical players, absolutely they're not, but they are very similar. I think if you go with Bruno and Mount together in that, in them number 10 positions, I think what you're doing is you're looking for an awful lot of possession within them areas. And I think probably one of the main reasons why you would go with both Bruno and Mount is that it will allow your striker to remain in on the last man. And we'll get on to Xerxes in a minute. He likes to drop deep like that. I think if that's the case, then, I think Mount comes out. But if we're looking at the striker, right, I think this is, again, probably one of the first names on the team sheet. It has to be Rasmus Højlund because of how well he's been playing and the goals he's been scoring. I think he is the first choice there now. And there will be times where Xerxes comes in and gets some game time. But again, I go back to what I've said about Mount and Bruno looking to get on the ball and looking to play. We've seen Højlund Hyland loves to come out. Hyland loves a fight. He loves to come out and hold off defenders and get one-on-one with defenders and turn them and so on. But I think, we seen against Pilsen on the weekend that, he does have the attributes to get into the box, to get one-on-one with defenders and to get goals. And I think if we do play the likes of Mount and Bruno together, it will allow him to stay in deep and play off the shoulder of defenders to get some goals. This would be my ideal lineup, guys, if I'm being honest with you. Again, like I said, Mount potentially out for Garnacho. Other than that, maybe Martinez comes back in for Euro in the back three. But, I think this is absolutely a good enough team to go out and get a result against City on the weekend. And I think it's probably the team that identifies most with how Ruben Amorim is trying to play. So for that reason, that would be my starting 11. Let me know your starting 11, guys, in the comment section below as well. Would you go with this starting 11, or would you maybe make a couple of changes? Let me know in the comment section below. Now, let's talk about City a little bit. Now, look, first and foremost, let's say what everyone has been thinking. Their form at the moment is absolutely laughable when you think about it. 1 win in their last 10 games. And it's the City that people my age are used to. We remember City when they were crap, when they were in Division 2. However, they will always give you a game, and that's the one thing we would say here. You can never write Manchester City off in a derby. And likewise, you can never really write Manchester United off either. When you look at, Ole Solskjaer's reign, for example, there was never too much consistency there. But we beat Man City 3 times in the derby, I think, in one season. So, it is probably the best time to be playing Manchester City. Well, it is the best time to be playing Manchester City over the last decade, you would say. It's the worst form that they've been in. However, we need to be on it, and the issue with me is that what kind of Manchester United side are going to show up? Ruben Amorim's first Manchester derby, he's going to want to win, and Pep Guardiola is going to need a win to get his season back on track and maybe use the derby as a boost and a platform to go on and maybe regain some of the form that we know they can show. They're getting the likes of Kevin De Bruyne back. He's getting more regular game time. Erling Haaland has looked off. Their defensives look weak. I think midfield is a key area that we can overrun Manchester City. They've got not an awful lot of legs in there with Gundogan coming back, Bernardo Silva, again Kevin De Bruyne, not a lot of pace and legs in there. I'm anticipating a really good game, I have to say. Now, it mightn't be the highest quality of game given the two teams that are up against each other, but I do think it's going to be a good derby. Score predictions, guys. I think we can go there and get something. I really, really do. And you know what? It's about time we do go away from home to one of the top 6 sides and put in a really good performance and come away with a convincing win. It's happened to us way too many times on the receiving end of defeats against the top 6. We need to go away to one of the big 6 and put down a marker, especially with Ruben Amorim coming in. I'm going United to win 2-0. I think we'll get the job done. And yeah, I'm being enthusiastic about it. Let me know your score predictions, guys, in the comment section below. We will be doing a live watch along for it as well on Sunday, so make sure you're tuning in for that as well. Please do smash a like on the video if you haven't done so already. Hit that subscribe button if you're new, and I'll see you on the next one.